So when people think of math, people often think of mental math, right? The idea of being able to think, to be able to think of calculations, to be able to do things quickly. And in my view, I don't think that's what I don't think that's really the important at all. As someone who has done a lot of math, and I liked math, and I was really good at math in school, but I don't think that mental calculation, that's not what math is about. It's, obviously it would have been very useful and, before calculators existed, okay? And it also sort of, it shows you what the mind is capable of doing, right? Because some people, they have kind of this memory. They have, the ability to almost like do things in their head and then put them all together, because that's essentially, or either that or following an algorithm. And what I mean by that is they have a set of rules that once you learn it, it's like a little trick, right? Like math tricks. And then once you learn it, you're able to, in your head, quickly do something. Or it could just be a matter of being able to visualize something and do it in your head. But the issue is, I don't think that's what math is. Math is more than just that. And I don't think, oftentimes we seem to think that that's what makes you good at math. And in fact, I would go so far as to say that I think it's the least important aspect of mathematics. Because some people have told me, well, I can't really think about it that way, or you don't need to. Like, in order to be good at math, you do not need to do any of these math tricks, which is why I think it's so strange that, oftentimes when you see like, oh man, this person's really good at math, right? How often do you see in, when people like competitions, right? Math competitions, it's all about it's one of two things, either one, doing it as fast as possible, or doing these mental calculations as fast as possible. And none of that matters when it comes to math. None of that is important. I don't think if I wanted sort of an engineer or something, that's not what math is about. It's not about doing things. It's not about sort of being able to memorize things and then just because it matters, but it really, let me tell you what matters more. What matters more is understanding what is happening and being able to solve a problem, or being able to use math as a tool to come up with a solution. That's really what math is about. And so you don't need to memorize anything to do any of those two things, because you can just, especially now that we have pen and paper, you could just write it out. And so you don't ever need to memorize any formula. I wish that that wasn't a thing, where in math they would make you memorize stuff. Like, I don't understand why they make you, like in calculus, they make you memorize so many formulas needlessly. And the teachers, they used to think yeah, there are a few things that you could probably memorize, like the multiplication table. That helps. But even then, you don't even need to memorize that either. Like, why? I mean, obviously it helps, but I'm saying in theory, you don't have to, right? Other than, I would say, the multiplication table, maybe a few. What else would you memorize? Like, you really don't need to memorize most things. You could just write it out and just have it as a formula. And in fact, I would argue that would be better, because it frees your mind to actually be able to do other things. I would rather that somebody use that mental energy, because it takes energy to be able to like think things through, to be able to memorize things, right? To be able to go through that algorithm. It's almost a waste of time, because you'd be better off using that energy to actually create new formulas and to to use your mind creatively, because that's really what math is about. So it's really weird, because a lot of these, like even like college algebra, Like, they're not even teaching what math should really even be about. And so I don't know, if I were to develop a math course, it would minimize the use of memorization, because you don't need it. Even though it's interesting, it's a good trick, and it shows that your mind is capable of doing something. But really, math is about solving issues. It's about solving problems. It's about finding creative ways to use math as a tool. And that's a whole different skill altogether. That you're doing something totally different when you're doing that. Because you're not just doing something that's already known. You're trying to create something that's unknown. So that has more weight to me. And that's what I would say math is about. And so math tricks are really not, they're really not that valuable in my view. And it shouldn't be. And it's weird because it's something, I guess, impressive and something that people can look at and sort of be impressed by. But it's really not, like it's weird because you can have someone who is a graduate at math, right? But they could be really bad. Like, they couldn't do, like, if you were to ask them what is 15 plus, I don't know, 159 or something. There could be a math graduate who doesn't know how to do that. And then there could be someone who has never read a book in their life and they're, good at doing that mental calculation. Now, does it really matter to do that? A problem like that in your head? I would say no. I would say it's, or even when they say, like, the cashiers need to know how to count, like, I mean, you really don't. Like, you could do it in your head. Like, you could just get a piece of paper and do it that way, even if you had to do it does that make sense? Even if you had to do it that way. And so I guess what I'm saying is you don't really need to be, you don't need to do the mental math. And in fact, I would argue that that's not what mathematics is about at all. And so, yeah, it's just a topic I was thinking about, but what do you all think?